now that I've finally been able to get Micah away from his PlayStation 5 for the day, long enough to record, that is, we can bring you another episode of GTD.
Yeah, I'm
so
going
with that
right
being
back to
said,
College Football 25 after this is over.
yeah, I'm not. I'm going to wait till the 19th. Thought it was the 16th, so I didn't get the bigger edition. So I have to wait till the 19th. But whatever. It'll just make it all that much better when I do get there. And we'll probably try to get like an Alabama versus Georgia game, just head to head for y'all, because those are our old team. Oh, I don't have anything else. Alabama.
It's Florida. It's very much not Georgia. It's Florida.
Oh, did I say Georgia?
Yeah, you did. That was very bad.
Why I said Georgia. Yeah, Florida.
Not Georgia.
Florida
Very much not Georgia.
Yeah. Last week, Michael was on the IL. He was a little sick or whatever. But I just think he's a pansy because I have my own health issues that I'm not on the IL for. I don't know if you can see this. I chipped a tooth, and I'm still going strong until I get that fixed. So, there's that. But I guess we'll just dive right into it. We'll start with MLB because it's an interesting week. We have the Home Run Derby. Obviously, by the time you're seeing this, it already happened, and we're about to talk about it. So we're either about to look really, really smart and intelligent, or really stupid. And we have the All-Star game, which we can do some predictions for as well. We have the draft that is going on right now, as well as last night it started. And then we'll move into some NASCAR and F1 further down the show. But let's just kick it off with the bat flip of the week, like we always do. However, Micah, I'm just going to let you have it.
Yes. Welcome to the Reece Hinds propaganda segment. It will start in the bat flip of the week. And he's been up for like 2 days at this point when this happens. Gets a pitch pretty much down the middle and absolutely destroys it into the second deck in left field. Stares down the pitcher, starts to walk to first, does a little bat toss over to the side, and that stare down has really been his trademark his first week in the majors. His 5 bombs that he's hit already, it's been a stare down every time. And this one he added a little bit of the flourish with it, little bat flip off the side. Then points back at the dugout like, yeah, I'm him. I'm up. I'm the only good power hitting outfielder we have. Let's do this thing. And just rounds the bases, ready to go, all business. Gets back to home plate, high fives some guys. And it's been that kind of week for Reece Hinds. The dude won NL Player of the Week, not Rookie of the Week, Player of the Week after just 1 week in the majors. He's only had 26 at-bats. I know, small sample size, but he's hit 5 bombs, has 11 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. He's hitting .423 with an OPS at 1656, which before his 0 for 4 day on Sunday versus the Marlins, it was at 2.1. And by the way, in that game versus the Marlins, he flew out to the warning track twice. So it's not like he was striking out all over the place. He was still hitting for power. It's like Aristides Aquino Part 2, honestly, with Reece Hinds. I hope the success is a bit more sustained. Obviously, he's not going to keep up this kind of pace forever, but if he can be a major league player that's going to contribute over years to come, I definitely am happy he's up now and giving us really hitting that we've desperately needed. Took us into the break at 6-2 in our last 8, which Reds needed really badly, and now are only about 3 or 4 games out of a wild card spot, which is very encouraging. But all that to say, Reece Hinds, bat flip of the week, player of the week, just all around dude of the week. This guy was amazing to watch.
Yeah, I like how smooth it was. I mean, the bat flip I'm talking about, he just hit it, and he's a lefty, so and obviously y'all's dugout was on the first base side, so he kind of just like smoothly like flipped it and like spun the dugout, just stare down the ball, then stare down the dugout, and just kind of like hype everybody up. It was really, you can obviously tell that he'd done that a lot in amateur ball or minor league baseball. Like he's not new to hitting home runs, and he's already had enough experience at the major league level to get good at bat flips. So I think the Reds are going to be a fun young team to watch the next few years. We've talked about Elliot Cruz countless numbers of times already this season, and obviously he's not going to have a 2 OPS his whole career, but if he can keep just half of what he's been doing, I mean, he's going to be a very, very fun player to watch, and I'm excited to watch him. So exciting things for the Reds fans. The Cubs are on a little bit of a good stint right now too. I'm not going to get too much. I'm not going to try to like force y'all. I mean, I know there's enough Cubs propaganda out there, but yeah, we swept the Orioles. I'm just going to leave it at that. Put that there. And hit 6 home runs yesterday, which
is very impressive from y'all.
Yeah, I almost gave the bat flip of the week to Christopher Morel, who didn't even do anything like at all. He just kind of trotted in a way Jim Edmonds didn't like. So Jim Edmonds, the Cardinals announcer, just kind of yelled at this kid who had hit his first multi-home run game ever in his career, we were winning by like, I don't know, 8 runs, and he was like, he's not Barry Bonds, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, let him have fun, all right? Come on.
It's the St. Louis Cardinals not wanting any other NL Central team to have fun ever. That's all it is.
Well, they don't have fun themselves. They play like they got a stick up their butt the whole season. Like they don't ever do anything fun.
Yeah, well, that's how them and the Brewers both. The Brewers kind of have fun, but the Cardinals are just like, we are a team. We have been around a long time. We are always good, but we're not as good now, so we're constantly mad, and that's just their franchise in a nutshell right now. But I don't know. I hope they don't win anything ever again, honestly.
I did too. They're definitely the old man of baseball. But it kind of fits.
Yankees.
That's how they play. But the Yankees have some good Yankees have like superstars and like some fun players like Juan Soto.
Yeah.
Like the Yankees are like the cool old uncle. They're like just like
Yeah.
the old guy who lives in a shack in the woods by himself and doesn't want anything to do with anybody.
The Cardinals have like washed Arenado and Goldie.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of home runs and bat flips, the home run derby is tonight for us. What are your takes? Who you got?
Gunnar Henderson.
Who are your top 2, and then who do you have winning?
I have Gunnar Henderson winning. Is the bracket out yet? If so, I haven't seen the bracket yet. But
I believe the bracket is out. The bracket is out. I just clicked on the link.
Because I know I have Gunnar Henderson winning overall, but I think I would have him matching up against Pete Alonso in the final just because Pete Alonso is the home run derby guy, but I don't want to say that and then be on the same side of the bracket and be like, well, how can they face each other in the final? So, but
right.
Gunnar Henderson has been so good this year. I think he wins the home run derby.
I'm also going Gunnar Henderson. I really want Gunnar Henderson to win. I know we had an Oriole in the home run derby last year, and he didn't really do much at all, but I am excited to see these young Oriole guys get a chance, and I mean they all look the same, so it's just fun to see. They
drafted Vance Honeycutt as well. They
Yeah.
drafted Vance Honeycutt and the dude from Virginia, and both of them are that stereotypical blonde young Oriole dude.
Yeah, they're just pumping them out like a cloning machine. Let's see, bracket. I'm just seeing the names. I'm not really seeing the bracket. But all right, I don't think the bracket's out yet, but there are odds. So Pete Alonso is obviously the favorite at plus 310. Ozuna and so you have Alonso, Ozuna, then Henderson. So they have Henderson at plus 450, Ozuna at plus 375. I honestly don't think Ozuna's going to do all that well. Obviously, I think he's going to make it past the first round, depending on who they go up against. Like if he goes up against Teoscar Hernandez or Alec Bohm, I think he's past the first round. But,
dude, Alec Bohm's going to hit so many doubles off the wall.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. There's like a few players that on here that you just like, well, how hard are they going to try? Because they know like, oh, if you try to win the home run derby and you do, there's a chance you just ruined your swing for the rest of the season. And that seems to only have not affected Pete Alonso of recent years. But I don't know. I think Pete Alonso is going to make the final, and you have Pete Alonso and Gunnar Henderson again.
Yeah, I would say sleeper, maybe Bobby Witt Jr. He was not in that top little guys of odds, and I think he's got great power. Like, it kind of goes under the radar because of his speed and his bat-to-ball skills, but he has great power. So Bobby Witt Jr. for a sleeper, especially if one of these other guys get cold maybe on a round. But Gunnar Henderson, I think, should be the favorite. I know Pete Alonso's won multiple home run derbies, but if you ask me who I think has more pop this year, I'd go Henderson over Alonso.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously Alonso and Henderson are near the favorites. But someone who's not near the favorites that I'm really shocked and I could easily see in the favorites is Adolis Garcia.
Yeah, that's true.
He was here last year, and he had that he had a monster round, and then just
he had a pitcher throwing sliders though, unfortunately.
Right, and his BP guys suck. So I guarantee that's not the guy throwing BP to him tonight. So probably better rounds from Adolis Garcia. So I think he's got a very good chance just to make it to the final, unless he has to go against a Henderson or Alonso to get there. But we'll see. And then tomorrow we have, one more thing. Do you have anybody breaking a record? I know Vlad Jr. has the record for most home runs. Do you have anything crazy like that?
I don't think you're going to see anything like that. I don't think the new format is conducive to records based on what we had previously. I just think you're going to see maybe, honestly, I think the numbers might be down a little bit this year because if you have a few bad swings, all of a sudden your round is over. So I don't think we see any records broken.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was going to say, with the new rule changes and the pitch limit and things like that, I think Vlad may have set that record in stone unless we just see somebody actually tear it up. But I don't see that happening this year. That's only going to happen if they let juicing come back to baseball. If they let them start juicing again. Because the other day I was watching Sammy Sosa in his home run derby just obliterate baseballs, and I was like, how fun would that be if we just let these guys take whatever they wanted? The home run derby would be the best sporting event of the season of any sport.
Yeah. I want to see Aaron Judge hit one 650 feet out of the park.
Okay, moving on to tomorrow night, some predictions that y'all actually won't know if it's true or not until it happens when you see this video is the All-Star game. Obviously, I think we're both going to choose the American League because it's been countless times since the National League has won. But, I mean, All-Star game, honestly, I get more excited for the home run derby than the All-Star game, but, I mean, it's fun. I really am excited to watch Paul Skenes shove it up Aaron Judge and Henderson, and I think he's going to shove in his one inning of work that he gets.
Yeah, I actually have a fun player to watch in the All-Star game for the first time in years with Ellie being sent there. I don't know how much he actually gets to play, but it's been so long since I had a fun Reds player to look forward to in the All-Star game.
Speaking of Paul Skenes and how we're excited to watch him pitch in the All-Star game, last week he was taken out of a no-hitter. What are your thoughts on that? I know it kind of divided the community. A lot of people are like, they should have left him in there because a no-hitter is a big deal, especially for a rookie. But a lot of people are also like, he's a rookie. He throws 102. Rest is probably a good thing for him. So what is your take?
Yeah, I'm on the side of rest being more important here because obviously it would be great to see him throw a no-hitter, but if you want this guy to be the ace of your staff for longer than about a Tim Lincecum career, you need to take him out in these spots. You want the arm to survive, and only reason I bring up Lincecum is because I saw a lot of people on social media saying, well, Tim Lincecum would have thrown 180 pitches, and they would have let him throw whatever, and he would have had like 7 no-hitters by now. I'm like, yeah, and his career was like 2 years long. So do you really want Skenes to be done that quickly? I wouldn't, obviously, if I were a Pirates fan. So I think it makes sense to take him out this early, especially as a rookie. Maybe if he's like a 4 or 5 year vet and he's like, yeah, my arm's still feeling good, you let him ride that out and finish that. But as a rookie, no, definitely don't let him finish that. Take him out, save the arm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100%. And there's also, people don't talk about the fact that just because they roll him back out there doesn't mean he's throwing a no-hitter. The same thing
exactly
that happened to the bullpen could have happened to him, or worse. I mean, he could have done much worse than what the bullpen allowed. So, I mean, it's not a guarantee that he throws no hitter. So I think taking him out in that scenario is the right thing to do. And yeah, I mean, it's all about longevity, especially with a guy like this. You want to keep healthy, and he throws hard. He's got the funky arm angle, so you've really got to try extra hard just to keep this guy healthy. Because I mean, he's the future of your team, pretty much. You're building around this guy. This is like getting C.J. Stroud or Jordan Love. Like, this is your quarterback of the future, and you're building around this guy. And speaking of things in the future, we also have the draft that's ongoing right now. We'll pretty much I know the MLB draft, a lot of people just care about the first round. And we have some heavy hitters like Lozano and Caglione. Caglione fell, further than I thought and a lot of other people thought.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and talk about Caglione now here. I don't get how he gets out of the top 3 picks. With all those teams needing hitting, as a guy who loves Cags, a guy who loves Florida baseball, I'm so glad he's not sentenced to life with the Rockies or the A's, but I think he'll do well in Kansas City, especially them getting a new stadium so they're not playing in the pit that is Kauffman. But the fact that the Cincinnati Reds at 2 all year, they have playoff pitching. We can agree the Cincinnati Reds have had playoff pitching, and there's still prospects in the pipeline. Chase Petty's down there. You just took Rhett Lauder last year. He's been great so far. Was in the Futures game, pitched well in the Futures game. And this team has suffered mightily from a lack of hitting, especially in the outfield all year. Charlie Condon falls to 2, who was the best power hitter in college baseball last season by the numbers, just by purely numbers. He was the best this past year. And you go, right-handed corner outfielder. We need that really badly. Let's take Chase Burns, a pitcher. What are we doing? I don't understand it at all. I know the Reds prioritize pitching in the draft, but the fact that you have 2 generational talents, in my opinion, honestly, with Condon and Cags, both just generational power, Cags on the left side, Condon from the right side, and you look at both of those at positions of need with corner outfield and first base and go, let's take another pitcher? I don't understand it at all. Like, I know baseball, you don't necessarily draft for need as much as, say, you would in the NFL draft or something like that, because prospects are kind of a crapshoot a lot of the time. But still, I don't see how you can pass not just one, but both of those guys up at number two. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good shot that Kyle Leone does what Wyatt Langford did, or even Paul Skenes, and we see him in the majors. Out of this draft class, there's a few guys. I think Condon's up there. There's a few guys that we could see in the majors very quickly on the hitting side. And
I think Vance
Kyle
Honeycutt
Leone,
makes it there very soon. The Orioles pick. I think Vance Honeycutt's there next year.
Honeycutt, especially with the Orioles, they're obviously not shy to move these
Yeah.
guys through their system quickly and get them up there. And they have new owners who seem to be all for that too. But yeah, so you don't think Bazana should have gotten one, is what I'm hearing.
Well, for the Guardians, it makes sense because you need middle infield help, and Bazana is an elite prospect. I would say, there were a clear top three in this draft. It was Condon, Bazana, Cags, not in any. I think the order changes based on what you need more, and I think for Cleveland, Bazana was the right pick. I do think he was the right pick at one. I just think that once Condon and Cags make it past one, you've got to take one of those guys, and to pass both of them up for a pitcher when you have arguably one of the strongest pitching staffs in the majors and in the minors doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw a pitcher go second overall with these three bats that we have, especially three bats that maybe not so much Bazana, but with Condon and Kyle Leone, guys who could help your team almost immediately. I mean, you have the trade deadline to help you out this year, so you're not really planning for these guys to be on your team this year, but next year, I mean, why not? I mean, we're seeing it more and more and more, and we're going to continue to see it more with the college baseball landscape and just these guys opting out of the draft to go play college for whether it be NIL or just experience or whatever, and then they get drafted in the first overall round. Whereas if these guys were drafted in high school, they may already be in the majors by the time they're 24 or 22 and graduating college and getting drafted in the first overall round. So I'm excited to see kind of who gets to the top the quickest and what they can do.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see it as well. And I honestly think the first guy up might be Travis Bazana, which might be surprising to you, but he doesn't necessarily have the power numbers of a Condon or a Cags, but his bat to ball skills are so outrageously good. I think he's being unfairly tanked by a poor super regional performance versus Kentucky. He's played extremely well his full seasons in every showcase event he's been to. I know to have a letdown in the postseason is obviously not what you want if you're Travis Bazana, but I definitely think he's going to be great. I think the first player up from this draft class is either him or Caglione. I would have said Condon, but the fact that he went to the Rockies, I doubt they would call him up that quickly, honestly.
Well, that's kind of our reasoning behind Bazana, too, is the Guardians, unless they get a spot where they really need another bat in the lineup, which I don't think they really do right now. They still
middle
have that
infield,
strong,
though.
Yeah, they need some open middle infield, but do you want to rush a guy and use a service year like that just for?
If he's that good, yes.
I was gonna say if they're pushing for a World Series and he can help your team, you're obviously figured about service years. But sometimes these owners don't want to do that. Sometimes all they care about is a service year, who knows what it costs them. And so he's like, oh, we can win a World Series without him because we're winning the Central and we have a good enough lead and Stephen Kwan's here and Jose Ramirez and blah blah blah. Then they may just let him slip.
Well, what if the Royals go and call up their big prospect and Jack Caglione next year, and all of a sudden you need a boost? I think Bazana comes up in that instance easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think, especially with those two teams specifically because they're in the same division, I think you'll see them kind of bounce around the same. Like if one team does this with with Caglione or Bazana, I kind of think you see the other team kind of echo trying to combat with it.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely some chess games being played in the draft, especially by the Reds. I don't know what style chess they're playing.
Before we move on from the draft, can I just say I am so excited to see how far Cags can hit balls in the minor leagues because he broke StatCast versus, I think it was Jacksonville earlier this year in a midweek game. He hit a ball 519 feet, which is a long way. So
with a metal bat though.
but still,
Yeah,
that's
no,
what
it's still,
that's
it's
probably like
long.
475 at least with a wooden bat
Yeah,
still. So
that's
I'm
nice.
looking forward to the absolute nukes he hits in the minors before he gets
Yeah,
called up to the majors.
it's gonna be fun. He may be start putting up Stantonian numbers, which is always great to have another maybe more consistent Giancarlo Stanton. If he can stay
Who is
healthy
good
and
defensively as well. He's a great defensive first baseman. I don't think a lot of people realize
yeah,
that. He's great. And apparently the Royals, I'm not sure how I feel about this, but apparently the Royals are letting him stay as a two-way player, which if it were me, I would say you're a hitter now because he's a
yeah.
solid pitcher, but he doesn't have major league pitcher potential in my opinion unless it's out of the bullpen. So I think you should have just made him a hitter, but we'll see what happens. I would not be surprised if his hitting gets him on a meteoric rise. I would not be surprised if the pitching stuff gets shut down in AAA.
Yeah, I think in the major league level he's gonna be a hitter. I don't see him pitching at the major league level. That is unless his hitting starts to struggle and he can't figure out major league hitting. Then they go, all right, let's see if he can throw, and he starts throwing.
Yeah.
And then he gets to the majors. Maybe they'll let him hit. Maybe they'll DH or hit while he pitches. But I think it all depends. I do think whether it's hitting or pitching, he's only going to be a one-way player at the major league level, not both ways like they're done.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that about wraps it up for MLB. And off to motorsports.
Time to talk
NASCAR.
Geometry. Triangles.
Yes. This
Triangle
is what
time. Triangles up, everybody.
Like.
Yes.
Triangles up.
Triangles
the
up.
Greatest show on asphalt.
Oh, gosh,
That's what they're calling it now. That's what I'm calling it now. Pcono. If you haven't heard, it's a triangle, which means it has three little turns because triangles have three angles.
They do.
And a lot of people get confused. They're like, does it have 3 turns or 6 turns? Because a normal oval track has 4 turns. Because you have 1,
I think
2,
it has 5 turns.
3, and 4. You think Pcono has 5 or a normal
Yeah,
track?
I think Pcono has 5. It's 1 and 2, 3, and then 4 and 5.
Oh, you're counting the tip as just 1, and then so it's just like a weird tri-oval.
Yeah, because the one at the top is based on the Indianapolis turns, and those are only 1 turn. So
I never thought about it like that, but it's just like it's like a tri-oval that had a rolling, those like roller backpacks, like the suitcase backpacks. It's
yes.
a tri-oval that had one of those to school.
Yeah, in case you guys couldn't tell, the race was terrible because we're talking about the shape of the track for like a solid 4 minutes.
Well, dude, even like Rick Allen and them, like when the race was starting, I didn't even know what they were talking about. They were talking about whatever and anything. And then they brought Ryan Blaney's family again, and I was like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah, the 80 family members made a return appearance.
I was like, "Did they just helicopter pick him up from Iowa and drop him in the stands at Pcono?"
Yes,
which was sold out, by the way. Pcono was sold out, which is, props to that marketing team.
Yeah, really.
Like some WWE marketing stuff to get get that place sold out. But yeah, I already said it. Blaney won, having a very, very, very similar season to last year. If you're a Blaney fan. Mm-hmm. Eerily similar. Very slow start. Gets hot at the end of summer. Carries into the playoffs. He's got 2 wins the last month. That's good momentum. And Blaney's definitely a momentum guy if you know his personality.
Yes, and met with Daisy Ridley. More Star Wars magic for him. Maybe the Force carrying him to another win at Pcono. I don't know. But second win of the year. Ford looks great. Ford has looked probably the best they have all year by far recently. And I did not expect them to do well here. Very high-speed track. I was expecting more of a Chevrolet performance here, except for Denny Hamlin. I thought Denny Hamlin would win this race and then have Chevys behind him. But Blaney coming out of nowhere. And some fast forwards. RFK looked pretty good as well here, especially Kozlowski for a lot of this race. Yeah, I was very impressed by Ford overall. And I think that's going to be really encouraging, especially as we move on to Indianapolis and Michigan here over the next few weeks. I think if you're Ford, you're now looking at both of those places like, we might have 2 more wins coming our way.
Yeah, I will say, I do think the fastest car at Pcono was a Chevy of the number 9.
Chase Elliott, yeah.
I mean, he plowed through the field multiple times. Even, I think if they go to another restart, because every like turn 1 and after every restart, he would gain like 12 spots. And there's a point where he was in 7th at one point.
Listen, that car down the Long Pond straightaway was one of the fastest things I've ever seen at Pcono. It felt like every time between turn 1 and 2, he's picking up 3 spots down that straightaway.
Yeah, if a yellow had come out when he was from 7th to 9th, there's a good chance he's fighting for the lead within 2 laps.
Yeah.
Before they all get spaced out. But he got caught speeding on pit road, which shuffled him all the way back. Of course, at the start of stage 3, so not a lot of time to make up. And of Pcono, it's just, I mean, they get spread out, and it just feels like you can't do anything. I mean, there's a few passes here and there.
Like, the next-gen cars made this track better, but the issue is these 3 corners here, or 5, or whatever, are also aero-dependent. Like, turn 1, you have to pick your own line through there. Then the tunnel turn, there is just one optimal line. You can't really do anything outside of that. And turn 3 is really the only one I'd say where you have options. But then if you're on the outside, the run you get down the straightaway is so much bigger. So basically, your only option is to try to set up a move in 3, because in 1 or 2, if you get locked behind the guy in front of you, next gen car, aero tight, you're done. Maybe 2 laps later, you can get within half a second again. It's the worst. I think this track, although the next gen cars made racing better here, I would say by a little bit, not by a lot. I don't think this track has ever really been good, but I think this track also is prone to showcasing the worst aspects of this next gen aero package.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, hopefully Indianapolis can buy us out next week, because we haven't raced here with the next gen car, and I am excited to see what that does.
I have a feeling Michael McDowell doesn't win this year.
Yeah, I think it's either going to be really good racing or Pcono racing. But I don't see it being like Pcono. I think it's going to be pretty good, tight racing. And, I mean, yeah, well, before we get on to Indianapolis, just one more thing we have to hit on. I guess it's our weekly segment at this point. Kyle Busch had to retire another car.
And a classic Corey LaJoie terrorism here, going into turn 1. Just went down. Kyle Busch blocked. Fair block, in my opinion. Hard but fair block. LaJoie, bonk, into the back of him. And you think, okay, it's done from there. LaJoie then goes bonk and Chick Hickses him up sideways into turn 1. Takes out half the field, including almost his own teammate. Yeah, Dynaco was all his in that moment. And Kyle Busch, like Dynaco, might be done at this point, like Strip Weathers. It's the post-race interviews with him out of the care center. I would like to thank Zone nicotine pouches and every other sponsor we have, and I'm not going to say anything else. It's time to go home. And that's every race now.
Everything's great. Everything's great.
Everything's great. Everything's great. And I just feel so bad for the guy.
Yeah, and LaJoie, I mean, he goes to go on the radio and says he got what he deserved. Like, dude, this guy's been through more hell in this one season.
What did Kyle Busch do to deserve this?
Yeah, like I think Kyle Busch has a fan base now that he never had before. Like, all the Kyle Busch fans are just sad, but now he's got a bunch of other fans that didn't even like the guy a few months ago that just want to see the guy do anything remotely successful.
It's like when you have like a mean dog and no one likes the dog, and then the owners start neglecting the dog, and the dog like doesn't have any food, and you just see it out there all alone. You're like, that dog used to be kind of a jerk, but someone needs to feed the dog. Someone needs to give that dog a home, and that's kind of what you're dealing with Kyle Busch right now.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, you can't point to anybody. You can't point to his pit crew. You can't point to
I can point to Austin Dillon. I point to Austin Dillon.
I knew that was coming. I knew somehow, some way that was coming. But I mean, it's just like every like aspect. Like, he's had pit road issues. That's plagued him. He's had bad team issues, bad car issues, other driver issues.
Bad Corey LaJoie issues.
Right. Just everything is culminated at this point to where he's either winning next week or acts of terrorism are going to happen in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's not good. He has to win now to make the playoffs too. He absolutely has to win.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we have 5 races to the playoffs. So the countdown. I mean, you have Indianapolis, Richmond, Michigan, Darlington, and Daytona, or Daytona then Darlington. Which I kind of liked Daytona being the final regular season race, because it was like a game 7, if you will. Because it was a big event at Daytona. It's a super speedway. You don't know who's going to win, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's stupid because it's a wild card race. But I love it. I love the excitement it brings. Now, if your driver's off the cut line, you probably don't like it. Unless your driver's like, Todd Gilliland, then you're like, oh, this is awesome. He's got a chance to win this thing.
Dude, Todd Gilliland might. He's been driving well this year. We didn't get to talk about my
exactly.
Todd Gilliland propaganda last week, but up until this week at Pcono where he had a bad race, he was like second, I think, in average finish over the last 6 races, and he had not finished outside the top 17 since April before this past week. So
Yeah,
Todd Gilliland's been cooking, by the way. That's going to be a great team with him and Noah Gragson next year, and
I
Ford's
agree.
going to actually start giving them information again since McDowell will be gone. Look out for front row next year.
Yep. No, I mean, I
Also,
am
someone
excited for
stop Josh Berry from crashing.
Only Josh Berry himself can do that.
Not good at it.
But so before we move on to F1, we have the picks for the Indy, not road course this weekend. So we're back on the Brickyard track. I know you mentioned Ford should be excited for this race. I had the same thought process. I went with the Ford of Chris Buescher. I really wanted to go Brad Keselowski, but I feel like that team is really pushing the 17 car because Brad K's locked in the playoffs. So they're really pushing the 17 car right now to get him locked in the playoffs. So for that reason, I'm going Chris Buescher. I think Brad K also look out for him. And then obviously, look out for Joe Gibbs. They seem to be dominant at this track. Kyle Busch won here a number of times. Hamlin, I think, has got a win here. Martin Truex.
Yeah. We don't know
just
how it's
look
going to
out
be
for
with
them.
next gen, though. It's wide open.
That is true.
Yeah. And you mentioned Keselowski. I almost went Keselowski, but I actually went with another guy. And it's funny because earlier in the NASCAR talk here, we've kind of argued each other's picks here. As I've gone Chase Elliott after you saying he was possibly the fastest car at Pcono. And that was pretty much my thought process. If they are going to bring the fastest car to Pcono, that was also very good through the tunnel turn. That car was very, very quick through 2 and always had a run down to 3. And what is Indianapolis but 4 tunnel turns just without tunnels under them? So I think with the top speed you saw out of that car, with a turn style that he's kind of already good at least, I think Chase Elliott gets his second win of the year here at Indy.
No, I definitely don't hate that. He was the first name that popped into my head when I was like, who's going to win an Indy? Obviously because of the performance he had at Pocono. And I think even though he didn't finish top 3, top 5, whatever, that was still a huge momentum swing. That team knew they had the best car. Everyone watching the race knew they had the best car. So big momentum swing for him. And I just like we've said multiple times this season, he hasn't brought the car and won a race. He finally brought the car,
and of course did not win the race.
Right. Unfortunately, he didn't win. So at one point this year, he's going to bring the car and win the race. And with the way he's been consistent all year, if he gets another race win, he's probably going to cruise past the first round of the playoffs just on the points he gets. And if he wins the
regular season points too. Yeah,
right.
I think he's in the lead of the regular season points right now. Actually, I think he's in the lead over
I believe
Larson. Yeah, so that regular season points battle is going to be great. And you mentioned momentum. How about the momentum of Alex Bowman, the guy we slandered for a lot of the first third of the year? Then we kind of backed off because he started running well. The average finish was great. Then he won Chicago, and then now a top 3 finish at Pcono, where it looked like he might even challenge for the win at one point. Is Alex Bowman finally back to the Alex Bowman we saw before the back injury?
Or did they say what I said at the beginning of the year when I said they were focusing really hard on Byron and Larson, and I think you're going to see him switch to get that 48 and 9 car in, and since the season's gone on, you've seen the 9 car get better. 5's been the 5 all year. You've seen the 24 car get drastically worse, it seems like, and the 48 car has done the opposite. Where the 24 car has gotten worse, the 48 car has taken its place. So is that a Hendrick thing? Is that an R&D thing? Is that a team thing? Or is that driver?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think it's a mixture of both because at Chicago, Alex Bowman did not have, I would not even say he had a top 10 car in that race. And I know strategy played a part in him winning that race, but still, the drive that he did there, I think, was a very good drive from him. I know people are wanting to discredit that win because of the strategy. You have to be there to have the right strategy. Yeah. So I think great win for him. And I think we're really going to find out which one it's more of, whether it's Hendrick R&D or Bowman himself improving once, like you say, these last couple races and then the playoffs start. Although I will say, based on recent form and based on the fact that when William Byron the last couple weeks, they've had speed, but they have not been able to capitalize. So if they can't get that capitalization straightened out, do not be surprised if the 24 is the first Hendrick car out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to say after the seasons he's been putting together the next gen. Everyone thinks, oh, Bowman will make the playoffs, first or second round out, definitely first Hendrick car out. And then you're like, okay, after Bowman, Elliott, he's been a slump. Maybe he's the next car out. But after the season you've watched him have, he's not going to be with the first Hendrick car. He's probably going to be the last Hendrick car in just because of his consistency. Unless Larson or Byron goes and wins one or two of a 3-round race or 3-round shootout, if you will. But yeah, I think I'm super excited to watch just the Hendrick cars in the playoffs to see kind of who rises. And I think Larson and Elliott will kind of be fine. I think it will be between Byron and Bowman to kind of see who performs better.
Yeah, definitely agree. But I think that is it for NASCAR this week. Let's talk about F1. We had an off week this past week. Nothing really happened. And now we head to Hungary, which is known as Monaco without the barriers. It's super hard to pass here. Its qualifying is very important. And this is a track where Lewis Hamilton has won 8 times. And he's coming off another track where he has now won 9 times. So I think you see him get it done again this week. Mercedes look fast. I think this track is going to suit Hamilton really well. I think Hamilton wins. I think Verstappen comes home second. I don't think this track suits the McLarens very well. You look at the other slow speed tracks in the calendar, Monaco, they were up there, but they were beaten by other cars. I think Verstappen is just a good enough driver to bring this home P2. And then Monaco without the barriers, Hungary. Who won Monaco? Ferrari won Monaco. I think Charles Leclerc finally bounces back this week. This track is a track that I think actually suits Ferrari. I will say the last couple weeks, Ferrari have frankly had the 4th fastest car. That's been what it is, and Leclerc's been lapped multiple times. I think this is the bounce back they need about to head into the summer break here. I think he rounds out the podium.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do think Ferrari bounces back this week. I think it's Sainz's car though, and I think he gets P2, second to Verstappen. I just think Verstappen, you can't hold him out of victory lane very long. I mean, he's bound to wind up back there. So Verstappen back in victory lane. And then I really didn't want to take a McLaren because of this track layout and how it's not really suitable for the high speed corners that they're typically good at. But I figured Norris has just been so good, and I don't know if I trust Mercedes to kind of keep what they've been doing consistent. So it was between a Mercedes and Norris, so I just went Norris P3. I could be very wrong or very right. I hope I'm very right. But I think the one I'm most confident in, besides Verstappen, is Sainz. I do think Sainz bounces back because he's still undecided, and we've seen when he was angry and had just been released, and Lewis Hamilton was just announced to Ferrari, he kind of drove like that. I feel like it's kind of building and building and building, and he's gonna drive.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening as well. Honestly, any of the drivers in the top 4 teams except Perez, you can honestly chuck on the podium, and not many people are going to argue with it. So yeah. I think that's personally fine. We'll obviously see what happens. I would say it's always a great race, but it's not. Usually no one can pass. We'll see if it's any different this time, but here we go to Hungary, I guess.
Yep, here we go.